This week we are going to work with Tynker, and we're going to work on an hour of code activity. So on this one here, you're just going to click on the character that you want to choose, and you're going to need to log in. So you use your login that I gave you in the assignment. And when we're in Tynker here, it's very similar to code.org. So you're going to drag the blocks just like we did with code.org. So here you see I drag the blocks, and then he's going to go up, and you have to get the treasure. Very similar. In this one here, he's got to do a jump, and then you have to eat, and then you're going to use the blast to blast through and get the treasure. So you have a general sense of what you need to do. Of this one, we just have to do a little debugging for this one. So sometimes you have to do it a few times, and he goes up, and then he gets the little bug that he eats, he blasts, and then he goes through. So each one, it's going to get a little harder and harder as it goes on. And we're going to continue with Tynker over the weeks, and each lesson will get a little bit harder. So with this one, we have to turn around. And so we have the concept of turn around. They didn't really use that in code.org, but they used that here to turn around and then to jump. Okay, so we are on to the next one, and we have blast here, and you sort of get the hang of it, what you're doing. We'll go step by step, and this is going to get a little bit more trickier as the hour of code goes on. So on this one here, we have to do a little debugging with the code that's up there, and sometimes you have to change the order of what you got, and sometimes you may have to do something a few times to get it to work. And that's part of the process of it, is to debug and to lay out the algorithm, to list the steps, and then you run the program to see if it works. So the dragon here, when he eats it, he gets bigger, and then he's going to go forward, and he's going to get the treasure. Okay, now for this one, we're going to use the repeat blocks here. Okay, so the way this starts out, it starts out as a review, and it will get harder and harder. And like I said, as we progress with this Tynker, we're going to get harder and harder each week. So here we're using our repeat loop, and remember, we could change the number, how many times you want the dragon, in this case, to repeat a task. So the next few are going to work with the repeat loop, and the children are very good at the repeat loop. So again, you make sure you just count how many times, and you may have to debug with the repeat loop and try different numbers and try different tasks. But it's, like I said, it starts out easy, and this is going to get harder and harder. So now we're going to put some of them together, right? You could walk, and then when you're in the repeat loop, you're only going to repeat the things in the repeat loop, and then when you walk at the end, that's outside the repeat loop. So like we've done this before with code.org. That's why I'm moving quickly with this one, because we know a lot of these concepts. So here we have the repeat loop, and you have what's inside the repeat loop, and he's going to jump and turn around. So jump and turn around. He jumps and turns around, and he gets to the treasure there. Okay, now here, this one, we're laying out some of the code, and this is a little bit of a longer one. There's no repeat loop here, so you just got to take it step by step. What do you want him to do? And he's going to blast, and the blast will get past that fire, and then when he eats it, he gets bigger, turn around, and then he's going to jump, and he's at his treasure. And here we're in a repeat loop again. The blast is going to get us past the fire, turn around, jump, eat the little insect there, and then blast, removes the obstacle, turns around, and goes ahead. So it's very similar to code.org. Now here we have a repeat loop again, and he's jumping and going down, and he gets to his treasure here. So you see that each one is getting a little bit harder and harder. This one we just have to debug a little bit. We have to change the number. So he's got his jumps, and then he's got his walks. Okay, we're going to use the repeat loop for this one. So we'll drag it in. And you can try out different things. It's okay if you can't do it perfectly the first time. You may have to do some debugging. You may have to try it over and over again. That's, like I said, part of the process. And remember, whatever inside the repeat loop gets repeated. So you have to make sure you're really looking at the code. If you want everything repeated, you put everything in the repeat loop so that it runs the entire code over and over again. So we have a jump here, and then a forward, and a turnaround, and then a jump. Now this one here, you're going to make your own little story here. So you're going to just drag the blocks over, and this is abstraction here. We're going to add in some of the words here on the side, and we're going to create a little bit of a story. So you can type in what you like, and then you could choose whatever you like, and then it's going to make a story for you out of this. So this is sort of combining computer science with writing in a way, because we're filling in a story here. We're using our creative writing skills, but we're also using our computer science here to lay out the algorithm, to list the steps, and how you want the story to be. So this is just a quick little exercise here, and it lays out the story. And you can make your own story, and then you click run. It will change the background, and it will change the story to whatever you intended it to be. So now we're going to get a little harder, and in these ones here, these ones are going to be with a function here. So in a function, the function is defined on the right. So you want to define what you want it to be, like blast through or move through. You can define it whatever you want, and that code is on the right there, and then you drag that code underneath the main code. So you see on the right there, I define my function, what I want it to be, and then I drag the title of that function to the left. And that's how we set up a function. We just define it, and then we drag that one block to the left to make sure it's all together. So these are all related to functions here. So our function, we put our function separate, we define our code, what we want it to be, and then we just drag it underneath the main one run blocks. So this Tynker activity, it has many different concepts. So we're putting it all together very quickly as a review. So now we have the if-then. Okay? So it's an if-then conditional. So we did our functions, we did our repeat loops, now we're doing our if-then conditionals. So we did this in code.org, if the path's to the left, if the path's to the right. So they have a similar thing here, but they're using it for the bug. So same thing, it's a conditional if-then, right? And we also did it with Scratch. And you want to move forward, and he's going to get the treasure. Okay, now this one here, again, we're using conditionals, if-then, and we also can use repeat loops. So you could put a conditional inside a repeat loop, to say repeat this 4 times, if this, then that, So we have our conditional if-then blocks, and we also have our repeat loop blocks. Okay, and now this is putting it all together here. We have our if-thens, we have our repeats, we have our moving forwards, and turning around. So this is when you get to the end of this exercise in Tynker, it has everything put together here. So he's going to jump up, and then he's going to blast, and then he gets his treasure. So we're putting it all together here. We only have a few more left with this one. So with the next one here, we're going to do while not at treasure. So this is a way to do a repeat loop. And you're going to say, while you're not at the treasure. So what can you do while you're not at the treasure, right? You're going to walk, and you're going to do this until, basically you're doing this until you're not at the treasure. So you say, while not at treasure, you can walk and jump. So this is another concept that we use in computer science. While not, or in code.org it was until, repeat until. So it's the same concept of doing something over and over until a condition is met. So keep going forward while you're not at the treasure, or keep going forward until you're at the treasure. It's a way to do a repeat until there's a conditional here. And we're on to our last one here with Tynker, and it's sort of putting everything together here, and we're laying them all out. And you see our function, we put our function to the right there. So what you do is you need to define your function. So you're going lay your function out on the right, and then once you lay them all out, then you put the title of the function, that block, into the main. So here we have, wait until you're into the treasure, and then climb up, and then we have defined climb up. Climb up is our function.